Michael, always good to have you. One of the things people always say is, distance and time can make folks forget. There's virtually a whole new generation of Floridians here who don't remember a major hurricane. It's been, as Phil pointed out, 11 years. Go through the kind of things that they have to do.
Well, Phil is exactly right. I think complacency is probably the biggest danger. We talk about 120-mile-an-hour winds. Rick talks about the cone of probability of where it might land. I think all those things are important to talk about, but what's more important is the fact that you have 120-mile-an-hour wind, sustained winds right now. You have warm waters, so what you're going to have is, as this crosses Cuba and the Bahamas, it's going to start to grow, and whether it skirts the coastline or not, you're going to have storm surge, you're going to have huge amounts of rain, and so frankly, I hear lots of talk about, recommending evacuations and that sort of thing, but I truly believe that this size of storm, looking at all of the factors that you have about the weather, the water temperature, everything, this is probably going to be a sustained, Cat 4 hurricane, and so you're going to have massive storm surge. You're going to have massive amounts of water. People ought to be evacuating now. And going back to Phil's point, it's been 11, 12 years, because it was 2004 when we had the 4 hurricanes hit Florida.
That's right.
And we had the exact same problems. We had, there was plenty of gas, but the gas was stuck because they couldn't get it out because of power outages. People couldn't get out because there were too many people on the roads at the same time. So when Governor Scott does this kind of staggered type of evacuation, the new people ought to understand that when it comes your time, that's the time to evacuate. Not sooner and not later, because you just exacerbate the problem of too many people trying to get out at the same time. I just got to say, watching all of this, it just kind of puts a pit back in my stomach, because I know there are going to be people who are going to say, hey, it's going to bounce off and go out into the Atlantic, or it's not going to be as bad as people say it is. And it may not be as bad as people say it is. But the one thing that you can count on is there will be flooding, there will be tornadoes, and people are going to get stuck, and people are going to get hurt. And you don't want to be one of those people.
But the flip side of that, very quickly, Michael, is can they get people panicked or over-alarmed? I'm not saying the governor's doing that in Florida or his counterparts in northern South Carolina, but when you see this many people in South Carolina trying to get out of Dodge, isn't that leading to potential problems?
Well, I don't. Look, I want to be careful what I say here, because I don't want to blame the government officials, because, as you well know, I had government officials, 11 years ago that wouldn't say anything, and so I don't want to criticize some government officials for saying too much. It's a delicate balance that they have to play. And truthfully, it's not the responsibility of government officials. It's the responsibility of individual citizens to look at what you're showing on the television right now and recognize that, holy cow, this is big. I may not be able to get out. There's going to be flooding, all these other things. Do I want to be the guy that causes a first responder to either get injured or hurt because I thought I was the tough guy and I would ride it out, or I was ignorant and didn't understand what was going on, or I just decided to ignore everything that government officials say? So I put the onus on citizens. They've got to make these decisions, and I know it's a tough decision. You got to pack up, you got to leave your home, and you may go, you may go 20 miles inland, you may go 100 miles inland, and then you look back over your shoulder and realize, I didn't really need to do that. But it's better to be safe than sorry. Trust me, been there, done that.
Well put. Michael Brown, thank you very much, the former FEMA.
By the way, welcome back, Neil.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that.